Welcome to another edition of the Focus TV, really the first of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to the Focus TV. We're joined as always. We got Octavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Carlo Dudley Jr., Wilson Tarper Jr. And again, welcome to season 6, episode 4 of the Focus TV. As always, Octavia's going to brief you guys about the NFC East. We're literally at the playoffs. Seeding is, people are working hard to either keep their seeding or fumble their seeding. She'll get into that a little bit. The Wizards. Ray may or may not have some pleasant news for you guys. Cardo and I update you on our respective college basketball teams that we covered, and we're going to see what Cardo has for us on rapid fire. But we'll start with Octavia and NFC East.
NFC East is still crazy. But I will say I feel like this is probably one of the best seasons as a whole. The NFC East has had, like you said, we're kind of down to the wire at this point. Not going to dwell too much on it as far as games, and we'll talk about where people are currently at and what they're going to be looking forward to in Week 18. We'll go a little bit into each game. On Thursday night, the Cowboys played against the Titans. They defeated the Titans 27-13. Dak Prescott was 29 of 41, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 3 carries for 11 yards. Ezekiel Elliott had 19 carries for 37 yards and 1 touchdown. And CeeDee Lamb, 11 receptions for 100 yards. And Dalton Schultz had 7 receptions for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. All in all, it was a pretty sloppy game. The Tennessee Titans didn't play any, I won't say any, but they didn't play most of their starters. Derrick Henry, we know. Ryan Tannehill is also out on injured reserve. So a lot of people were probably expecting the Cowboys to just kind of roll over them. But we've known in the past couple of weeks they have had difficulties. I feel like just playing down the competition. I think they're still a really, really good team. They just sometimes play down to the competition that they're playing against. And that was also something that kind of bothered them in this game. The biggest thing going on is the interceptions being thrown by Dak. He had another multiple interception game. So that's one thing that he really needs to kind of tighten up on. They've already locked up a playoff seeding. There's not really much that they can do to change it. The only thing that can change it is dependent upon if they win their last game. And if the Eagles lose their last game, that will change them a lot as far as seeding. They're currently in 4th or 5th, excuse me. And if they win and we lose, they will be 1 and we'll be 5 because they'll win the NFC East. But all in all, it wasn't much of a game, to really, the Tennessee Titans hung in there for most of it because of the turnovers that Dak threw. But it just seems like at the end of the game in the 4th quarter, they were up by just 4 points. But they finally got it together. Dak led a 10-play, 75-yard drive that was finished with a touchdown by Schultz. And at that point, they were up 11 points, 12 minutes left in the game. And it was going to be pretty hard for the Titans with, like I said, majority backups to really come back from that, because like I said, the Cowboys are a really good team, so they were able to hold them off. I'm just interested to see how they finish the season out. Well, honestly, I'm not really interested to see how they finish the season out. They'll be playing against the Commanders, who we'll get to in a second, but more so, I'm really just interested to see how they are in the playoffs. That's the biggest Achilles heel that they have. This is their 2nd consecutive year of a 12-game of winning 12 games. So it's definitely a point in the right direction for them. But as we've heard Jerry Jones talk about all season long, they need to make a deep playoff run. So that's what they're pretty much focused on at this point, staying healthy. They are getting some people back off of some injuries. So they just got to keep it together. They've definitely had a little bit of a sloppy play recently. I think if Dak is able to tone down on the interceptions, although they're not always all his fault, but as the quarterback, you get majority of the blame when that happens, unless, you have the tip balls and things of that sort. But yeah, they'll be playing against the Commanders next week. They'll both be playing on Sunday at 4:25. All NFC East teams are going to be playing against each other next week. So get that out the way. They've made it so they play on Sunday. Everybody's playing at 4:25. So the Cowboys will play against the Commanders. The Commanders actually played against the Browns this week, and they lost to the Browns. Commanders had 10, Browns 24. Carson Wentz was 16 of 28, 143 yards, 3 interceptions, 3 carries for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. Brian Robinson had 24 carries, 87 yards, and Logan Thomas had 6 receptions for 56 yards. I try to tell a lot of my friends who are Commanders fans that Carson Wentz is not it. And I think they finally get it. It's sad that he had such a a huge drop off in the short amount of time that he had since 2017 up until now. The injuries, you can just see that he just doesn't have it. Ron Rivera took a chance to try to provide a spark for them to get into the playoffs. And I mean, Ron Rivera didn't even know that they would be eliminated from the playoffs. So that's another story. But it just was bad. They were 7-5-1 at one point during the season, in control of their fate. They're 0-3 since then. They've been eliminated. It's just been bad for them. They've had a lot of injuries. I think this was Chase Young's first game for the season, if not last week. I can't remember, but they've just been bad, inconsistent, a lot of injuries, poor quarterback play. It's just been really bad for them. In the last couple of games, it really seems like the second half has been their struggle. Previous week, they were tied with the 49ers 7-7 at halftime, but they lost 37-20. And this week, they were leading the Browns 7-3 at halftime, but then lost 24-10. I can only attribute that to coaching. I don't know what the second half adjustments are. It seems like the other team's adjusting better. And then the coaching staff can't really get their team back on point in order to. Granted, they did have some injuries. Like I said, Brian Robinson had 24 carries without Antonio Gibson. So he had the workload. They didn't really have the luxury of trading off for a running back by committee for them this week. But honestly, the biggest issue that happened in this particular game, Jonathan Allen went down in the second quarter. At that time, the defense had only allowed 81 total yards. He didn't play at all in the second half, and that's when the Browns really pretty much did whatever they wanted in the second half. Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson were just doing whatever they wanted. But they also lost. The Commanders also did lose safety Cam Curl and cornerback Benjamin St-Juste. So again, a lot of injuries that happened to them. So this week coming up, they'll play against the Cowboys. Who knows what will happen? I'm hoping that we see a Sam Howell spotting, just because it's week 18. You have nothing to play for. I don't know if the Cowboys are going to play their starters. I doubt it. See what the rookie looks like, because we know that Tyler Heineke, he's not the answer, and obviously Carson Wentz is not the answer. So Sam Howell's the only one that they got back there, and they need to at least get a look at him, see how he'll look during this, in an actual game, to figure out what they're going to do in the draft next year. Again, looking for a quarterback again that we see them have to do every single year. Last but not least, with this, Carson Wentz is officially done. I can't see him having a starting position anywhere. I think they'll release him this offseason if they are able to. I haven't really looked at the logistics of it. But he might be a backup somewhere if that's what he chooses to do, or he might not be in the league. So it's unfortunate that it failed that fast, but Carson Wentz is officially done as a starting quarterback in the NFL. The Giants played against the Colts. They annihilated the Colts 38-10. Daniel Jones was 19-24, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley had 12 carries, 58 yards, and 2 receptions for -5 yards. Richie James, 7 receptions for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. And Isaiah Hodgins had 4 receptions for 42 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, to say that this was probably Daniel Jones' best game of the season is basically what it was. I mean, he threw a pair of touchdowns, ran for 2 more. They clinched their first postseason berth since 2016. They've had 4 straight losing seasons. It's crazy what good coaching can do. To get a good coach in there, and it's a Daniel Jones that I feel like we've never seen before. Granted, we've talked about that he's been a decent quarterback. He just hasn't really had a good coaching staff. He's had a lot of coaches in the tenure that he's been there, a lot of schemes and everything. So getting Daboll has definitely been a godsend for him. For Daboll to be able to turn them around to a playoff team, to me, is a Super Bowl in themselves. Like, I don't expect for them to do much in the postseason. But for them to actually get a playoff berth when they were probably, looking just to break even this year, they're definitely ahead of schedule. And especially with limited talent that they've had, they haven't had really good wide receiver play. They've only really had Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones to lean on. Granted, Darius Slayton, Richie James have done what they can as backup wide receivers who are now playing 1 and 2 wide receivers since they got rid of Kadarius Toney. And we know Kenny Golladay is not panning out for them as well. So I think they've done a really good job this year. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to retain said Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, because it does sound like they do want to now re-sign Daniel Jones, who they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, so he would be an unrestricted free agent this year. But it sounds like that they're leaning more towards re-signing him. But are they going to be able to do that and sign Saquon, as well as still have to get a lot of pieces around them on the offensive side at least? The defensive side, I think their defense is pretty good as long as they stay healthy. And I think their offensive line, as bad as they've been in years, they were pretty decent this year, but I'm sure they definitely still want to bolster that up in the offseason. So they have a lot of questions as well, but right now they're focused on the game that's coming up this week. They will play against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I stated, if the Philadelphia Eagles lose this game, the Cowboys will be the number one seed. I think I have to look at the I can name records. But I believe that's what it was, just depending on what the 49ers and the Vikings have done. But will the Giants actually play anybody? Moving on to the Eagles game. The Eagles played against the Saints. They lost to the Saints 20-10. Gardner Minshew, 18 of 32, 274 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 carry for 0 yards. Miles Sanders had 12 carries for 61 yards. Devontae Smith had 9 receptions for 115 yards, and A.J. Brown had 4 receptions for 97 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, the offense was so inept. It was annoying to watch, to be completely honest. Now, granted, I think the big thing that a lot of people were talking about when Jalen Hurts went out was, is he an MVP candidate or not? If you take him out and put any other quarterback in there, the Philadelphia Eagles would be just as good. Obviously, that's not the case. So I think it could help his MVP campaign, but missing the 2 last games definitely hurts him as well, with Patrick Mahomes playing as well as he's been playing. But yeah, you can see that without Jalen there, it's a big drop off. I definitely thought Gardner Minshew would be a little bit better, but he definitely could get no rhythm in this last game. They had 11 first downs, which is their fewest since 2014 against Seattle when they had 9. They just could not get into any type of rhythm. The defense was the only thing that was really holding them together in the game, outside of a couple big plays. The play to A.J. Brown for the touchdown, which was the only offensive score of the game outside of the field goal for Jake Elliott. Granted, there was a penalty that was called against Landon Dickerson that I don't think should have been called. I think most people said it. But again, you can't live and die. You can't depend on the referees to get it right. It's always a judgment call. So that's no excuse for that as well. It was just bad. I mean, Minshew couldn't convert the 4th and 1 quarterback sneak that we've been seeing them do all year. People talk about it as much. Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds. Obvious that Gardner Minshew does not. And granted, the offensive line, has some injuries. Lane Johnson missed his first game with the abdominal tear. So I had Andre Dillard on the right side, which is not the same. I mean, Gardner Minshew's got sacked at least 5 times in this game. The offensive line had a lot of penalties. Jason Kelce, I don't know what he was doing. He had a lot of false start penalties. Injuries are definitely starting to pile up for them, with Avonte Maddox not playing. CJ Gardner-Johnson is still not back. Obviously, we know the safety play is not as good as it was earlier in the season, which is then trickling over to the cornerback. So it's been a struggle. But outside of that, the front has been playing out of their mind. And that's the part that kind of makes me sad for the team. This is the first team, I believe, in NFL franchise history that's had 4 players on the same team with double-digit sacks. Hassan Reddick has 16 on the year. This is the Eagles' 5th straight game with 6 sacks or more. I mean, the defense is doing everything that they can. So I'm excited to see if Jalen gets back. I'm sure he will be back this week. I don't believe there's no way he would sit out this game, knowing that they need to win the game to secure the number 1 seed and get a break, a bye. So NFC East is just 3 teams out of the NFC East made the playoffs this year, which is crazy to think. I believe they might probably be the only division that will have 3 come out. So it's going to be interesting. I'm already just kind of ready for week 18 to be over with, so we know what the playoff scenario is, and we can just go forward and see how each NFC East team does.
Yeah, week 18 should be just as wild as week 17 was. You had a moment on, we're talking earlier, a moment Sunday night when it looked like the top 3 seeds in NFC were all going to lose and shift the entire landscape of the seeding. So let's see if anybody really messes it up this week. But Ray, the Wizards.
Got good news for a change, man. They're currently riding a 5-game winning streak. They're currently taking on the Bucks right now. They're up 13-11 early in the first quarter. They beat the Bucks on Sunday. With the Bucks are missing a few guys. Giannis is back tonight for Milwaukee. Brad Beal is back tonight for the Wizards. So, both of those teams have their number one guy back. So, we'll see how this game shakes out. But yeah, man, Wizards they've been playing good basketball lately. We hold them accountable when they don't. So, we got to acknowledge them when they do. Just being honest, the return of Rui and DeLon Wright is the big part of this turnaround, man. Just giving them consistency in the second unit and helping them out defensively as well. So, it's a shame that missing 2 guys has caused a slide like that, especially with with a lot of those games having their big 3 in there. But it is what it is. We're here now. They're trying to dig themselves out of a hole they didn't have to be in, but but they're making strides. Porzingis was recently just named Player of the Week, but it looks like something unfortunate just happened to him tonight. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on with his outlook, but yeah, man, they've been putting it together recently, and hopefully this continues, and they can make up some ground for that 10-game slide, which really was unnecessary. Just some lapses, especially on the defensive end, and offense just bad decision making, lack of continuity, and nobody really there to steady the ship. But yeah, man, they're playing well right now, so we're going to live in the moment, and just hope they continue to to go be on the right path.
Yeah, like you say, and you and I have been told the Wizards outlook recently. Just it's good that they're having this stretch of success, but again, you had a month when you lost 10 straight. Like I'm not about to let that go for a while. However, you try to do the right thing and try to get pushed in the right direction, as you said. And again, we'll have Wizards outlook later this evening, and obviously later this week as they continue to work through the first month of the 23 part of this season. But we're going to take our first break. When we return, college basketball. You're watching the Focus TV. Welcome back to the Focus TV. Cardell, the floor is yours. Sorry for college basketball. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to regain my composure. But, we're recording the show for this week. Got the game on because we got to do Wizards Outlook later. And, things happen. And, reactions are natural in sports. It happens. I said, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah. You just go to Twitter and search Giannis. You'll understand. But, GW. Started off A10 conference play, as every college program in the country is. It's conference. It's conference play time. So it gets real. Conference play is a different animal than non-conference, and already a few teams are understanding that. But on GW side, they opened conference play with a win, a 97-87 win over Loyola Chicago. Yes, that Loyola Chicago, they had a kind of Cinderella run in the NCAA tournament. This is their first season in the A10. It was just offensive clinic. There's nothing else really to be said. They started off hot. GW made 10 straight shots early in the first half, which set the tone for what would pretty much be an offensive clinic. GW shot 64% from the field, 32 of 50, 10 of 17 from 3, and 23 of 25 from the charity stripe. The Colonial scored 90 points in a regulation game for the first time since February 21st, 2018 versus Richmond, where they won 103-77. Also, the last time GW shot better than 60% from the floor. Senior guard James Bishop put up his second 40-point performance of the season. Bishop is one of 2 players in the nation to post multiple games with at least 40 points this season. Bishop did so on 12 of 18 shooting, including 5 of 8 from beyond the arc. He also knocked down 11 of 12 at the free throw line and scored 29 of his 40 points after halftime. He also dished out a team high 7 assists. Brandon Adams was 7 of 9 from the floor for 19 points, in addition to handing out 5 assists. And Ricky Lindell Jr., who hit some big 3-pointers down the stretch to make sure they could stay comfortably ahead when Loyola Chicago was trying to come back. He finished with 13 points and 6 boards. GW, look, they hit the road Wednesday night when they take on the reigning A10 tournament champion Richmond. Tip is set for 7 p.m. from the Robinson Center.
As you said, it's that wonderful time of year, conference play. There's not another way to say it. That's what all teams are going through, both the men's and women's side. Is the battle for, see where you end up in your conference. See how that plays into your seeding as we get closer and closer. As soon as the year flips, we get closer and closer to selection Sunday, selection Monday, what have you. So all these games start mattering even more. For Maryland women's, they played 2 games since we last spoke to you all. They beat Minnesota at home on December 30th, 107-85. Diamond Miller led the way with 22 points. Cheyenne Sellers added 19 as 4 players scored in double figures in the win. On Monday, they got their second consecutive conference win in a row. On the road at Rutgers, 4 players again scored in double figures. This time they were led by Abby Myers, 22 points. Diamond Miller added 15. And for Rutgers, Colleen Smill led the way with 29 points and 9 boards. As for Maryland, again, the stretch of conference games continue. This Saturday, they host Michigan State. So again, there's an opportunity. They lost their first conference game of the year for them to continue to build a good conference record as we progress towards conference tournaments and all that good stuff towards the end of the year. But they're clearly headed in the right direction. We're going to take a second break. When we get back, we're going to see what Cardell has for us on Rapid Fire. And I'm sure it'll be good. There's a lot of stuff that's happened in sports within the last week and a half, like literally within the last 24 hours. Just a ton to talk about. So you're watching the Focus TV. We will return shortly. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, we're going to jump into Rapid Fire.
Donovan Mitchell scored an NBA season high and franchise record 71 points, equaling the 8th most in the game in history as the Cleveland Cavaliers rallied from 21 down to beat the Chicago Bulls 145-134 in overtime on Monday night. It was the highest scoring game since the Lakers legends Kobe Bryant had 81 points against Toronto back in 2006. Will Chamberlain obviously owns the NBA record with 100 for Philadelphia against New York. Mitchell scored 13 points in the extra session after forcing overtime by grabbing his own intentionally missed free throw and making a circus shot with 3 seconds left tying the game at 130 all and breaking the Cavaliers record with 58 points. Mitchell also had a career high, tying 11 assists and 8 rebounds in 50 minutes, also setting career highs with 20 free throws made and 25 free throws attempted. Mitchell went 22 of 34 from the field and made 7 of 15 3-pointers and carrying the Cavaliers, who were without all-star guard Darius Garland and for Evan Mobley for the second straight game. Bickerstaff said every single play that he made was a play that was necessary. Okay, great performance. We all know what Luka did. Last week. Clay actually had 54 points last night. No one's mentioning that. It's just like, that was okay. That's how everybody kind of treating it. But my question to you, all the staff, what are your thoughts on the lack of defense for this season? Because there's a lot of historic performances that's just piling up week after week. And I'm noticing there ain't much resistance. I guess the NBA, they got to cater to what they believe the fans want. But it's starting to get out of hand. I'll start with you, Octavia. What are your thoughts on the performance? And also, do you feel like they got to change something about the lack of defense across the league?
I mean, granted, that was the first thing I thought about. I was like, we get out here with 60, 20, 10 games. Like, what? I'm like, Clay dropped 54. When I saw that Donovan Mitchell had 71, I was like, what is going on? And that's literally the first thing I thought about. Is like nobody plays defense anymore. I don't feel like anybody takes pride in it. Like there are those certain players that do, like the same names that are in the running for defensive player of the year every year. But it's not enough. Like I don't think they take it seriously enough, because we all know that defense is effort. And I think a lot of them are lazy. They just want to get theirs. I don't know if it's good for the league. I mean, I guess it is just for, the headlines. But for me personally, and I just think the real basketball people, like it's cool when it's like hard fought. Yeah. Like if somebody like had to like really, really grind to get that 71, but if it was easy, like, I mean, when I watched I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Dallas and the Knicks game when Luka dropped 60, 20, and 10. Well, 60, 21, and 10. Let me not forget his other rebound. I'm just looking and I'm like, Luka is literally doing whatever he wants. And it's like, it's no resistance. And it's the same. I can understand it if it was like somebody that you haven't seen a lot of, the scout report's not that great on these people or whatever it is. But it's the same people every time. Like the people that are going to go off, and it's still like you give them no resistance. So I definitely think something has to be done. I don't know if it needs to start, I doubt it starts from like Adam Silver or anybody up there. But I think the coaches need to be a little bit more defensive focused. You see some coaches that are defensive focused, and then you see some that aren't. But it's definitely giving a bad precedent to these kids that are going to be coming up in high school, in college, and it's only going to get worse. So I hope that somebody decides to play some type of defense on somebody, because it is getting a little bit ridiculous. And shout out to the fact that Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers all got drug tested afterwards. Because who scored 71 points? You gotta be on something.
Great.
Like I don't want to be that guy, but it's hard to get excited about these offensive performances because, like you said, man, is no resistance. Like, I mean, and no shade, because scoring 71 points is difficult no matter what in a professional game. I'm not taking nothing away from that. And I mean, if I'm him and you're not going to play defense for real, I'm gonna try to score every time too. So he did what he was supposed to do, and they needed it for them to win. So so this ain't got nothing to do with Donovan Mitchell, but I mean, defense is not prioritized in the NBA. It hasn't been for a long time. Anybody that says otherwise is being dishonest. They've altered the rules to give the offensive player every advantage. And then on top of that, guys are just not committed on that end, man. It is what it is. Like, we can make up all the excuses we want. People can try to say, oh, players are so skilled now offensively. We miss me with all that, man. Because, no matter how offensively skilled players are, we're not seeing commitment on the defensive end. We're not seeing high defensive IQ. People are routinely getting beat on backdoor layups, like simple grade level stuff that they teach you to do on defense. We're seeing not being able to be executed consistently on the NBA level. That's pathetic to me. I still see people going under screens against Steph Curry. Like,
why?
Like, yeah, of course, the greatest shooter ever is going to light you up going under screens. Like, come on, man. It's ridiculous, man. Then we see a lot, guys using screens to get mismatched against the bigs. What happened to the guard fighting over the screen so that doesn't happen? So, I mean, it's just a lot of things that go into it that really make it difficult to really appreciate the offensive skill that these players do have, because they're not being tested. Like, that was what was so great about, the basketball we grew up on, because those guys were fighting every night to get those numbers, man. Like, we saw what Michael Jordan went through. We saw what Dominique Wilkins went through, all those guys, even later on with the Kobe's and guys like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. 71 is cool. 71 against maximum resistance is even cooler. I hope it reverts back to that one day, but as it stands now, I'm really taking these offensive performances with a grain of salt, to be perfectly honest. Not saying the guys that are doing them aren't extremely skilled, because we all know what Luka's capable of. Donovan Mitchell, he's been a scorer since he's been at Brewster Academy. So nothing against these guys, man. Clay, we've seen him get hot before, but I mean, defense is being stripped away from the game, and that just says what it is, man. The commissioner himself said the rules were changed to emphasize offense. So I don't know what else you want. And guys just not feeling like it's important, and you can tell, like, they don't even want to practice. So what makes you think they want to fight hard and compete defensively? Yeah, it's hard. People are talking about being tired at the end of games. You're supposed to be tired. If you play 40 minutes of NBA basketball, your body should feel like it. So I don't know, man. But kudos to him. Outstanding performance. And his team got the win. So that's where I'm at with it.
Wilson.
Yeah. Like Ray said, I'm no longer kind of shocked when I see the crazy numbers. Like, I saw it last and I was just like, oh, 71. Did they win? Oh, they won. And that was kind of it for me, honestly. Like, I watched some clips this morning of it, but last night it wasn't like the same buzz like when Kobe had the 81. It was a different type of buzz to it. I'm not trying to diminish anybody in this situation, but this is what happens when, like Ray said, defense is not prioritized, but just people don't want, which makes it makes a starker contrast to teams that actually do give effort on that end when the rules are changed to make to help boost the offense. So we watched this year, like, again, I hate to bring them up so much. Like, looking at the Nets is almost like a Rorschach test for folks. What changed mightily? They started playing defense. Everyone plays defense. They just play defense. There wasn't some magic. They play defense. They compete. And lo and behold, it can change your season. We're watching the Wizards. DeLon Wright goes down, and everything dies. Max players, blah, 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 blah. 10-game slide. Comes back, defense. Steph's hurt. You see the Warriors going through what they're going through. Their offense is struggling. I know Clay went off for 54. They're missing the engine of their offense. Why they're 6-3 right now in the last little stretch. There's no excuse for them to not defend, and it feels like everybody knows that. Boston, what do they believe in? Death tax, and they're going to defend. And we're watching those teams separate themselves. And again, not to knock Donovan Mitchell, but I saw him at 15 against Brooklyn. 15. He just gave somebody else 70-something. We know what Luka could do. And at some point, like, we always talk about it in Wizard Outlook, like, every team should have switched. And people took this switching thing and turned it into the greatest excuse of, that's even more reason for me to not play defense. Then you got 5 of y'all that don't want to do it. So I'm just like, hey, Ray, switch on mine. Ray's Octavia, switch on mine. Hey, Cardell, that's you now. And none of us actually want to get the stop. What do we think is going to happen? Luka, a serial killer, is going to enjoy. He's going to hurt you. Donovan Mitchell, space. Okay. What do you want them to stop? Why would they? So I mean, like, I'm no longer shocked because of that. And then this is kind of getting like a reoccurring thing, the past couple years in the NBA is people do all this absurd stuff in the regular season. We get to the postseason and you go out with the whimper. Because people, attempt to defend a little bit, and people look different in different lights. And it's not Donovan Mitchell or anybody else. But this is why it's frustrating, because it was a time when that type of effort wasn't reserved only for the playoffs. And that's the issue here. And if for some teams, you're not even good enough defensively to take time off from it during the regular season because you're not building the habits. It's just, it makes for just bad basketball. And then you got the hype beast out there where everything is amazing. Nah, it's just bad basketball. Like, it's really good players being offered little resistance. What do you think's going to happen? Like, what do you think?
This is just a byproduct of what's been wrong with the NBA for a while now, when they let non-basketball people make decisions on rules and how to run the league. And this is what it is. I feel like it should be more exciting. It's catering to a more analytical style of play where it's just offensive base, and they feel like that's more exciting, which means it would draw more people to watch it and means more money. And then the low management means the players going to love it. That means you're getting more bang for your buck when you got to pay these players these large salaries. That means that's still going to extend their career. Is how they're looking at it. Some of these regular season games don't really mean anything until they do, and you missing the playoffs. It's all a trickle down effect of shortcuts. And being a basketball player pretty much all my life, it's like if you give players shortcuts, of course they're gonna take it. It's kind of like the inmates running the asylum a little bit. You can't allow that, and that's what you're seeing with the defensive end. No one's really putting emphasis on it. A lot of coaches are scared to really put emphasis on it because it means star players gonna go upstairs like, get this coach up out of here. You know what I mean? And it's also why when the playoffs come, you see a lot of these stars struggle. They don't look the same because now real defense is being played, and you see a lot of guys getting exposed and stuff like that. But I'm gonna throw this stat out here that will just pretty much stamp everything, and these are facts. This ain't. I actually did some research and looked up defensive rating. Defensive rating this season, as we enter tonight, was at 113.5. So before I keep going, for people that don't know what a defensive rating is, it simply shows how many points a team allows per 100 possessions. Okay, so it's a gauge just to see how much you allow or whatnot. So this season, the NBA as a whole is averaging 113.5 in their defensive rating. It's literally the worst defensive rating of all time. Literally. I went back, looked at 18 to 19 season. That's pretty much the first season of the freedom of movement when they changed the rule. That season, it was 110.4 defensive rating. Then I went back to the 12-13 season 10 years ago. It was 105.9 the defensive rating in the league average. Went back to the 2002-2003 season. It was 103.6. Defensive rating. Went back 30 years ago, 92-93 season. It was 108 defensive rating. I went back to the 03-04 season, the last season with hand checking. It was 102.9. Like this is the all-time worst defensive. Like the numbers even say it. You know what I'm saying? And I went back to the 80s, 70s. I just wanted to see. I even went back to the ABA where they admitted it was all about getting buckets, and their defensive rating was better than now. So that's how I know these guys are literally not caring. Now you saying switch, and you see that from a lot of teams and stuff. I grew up when you had to switch, that was disrespectful to yourself. The only switch was, all right, he's cooking you, switch with me, and I'm gonna go cool him off, and you get on this guy because he's not a threat. That's the switch you do. When you got to keep switching and stuff, that pretty much means the coach don't believe in you defensively, and you should take that as disrespect. Do you see Drew Holiday having a switch on? Do you see Draymond when he log in? Marcus Smart? You don't see those guys doing that. Did you see Andrew Wiggins in the playoffs last year switching off Luka? Nope, he was glued to that boy. Or any of the Jason Tatum, all of them. So it can be done. These guys just don't want to do it because they're not really forced to do it. And they know they have the power to go upstairs and do it. It makes for bad basketball. I think the nerves they get in these positions and making these decisions, no disrespect to them, man. What made the game great, we started with Larry and Magic, was the competition. That's what makes the game great. That's what draws us to it. Like, yo, like, damn, Michael Cooper, can he stop Larry Bird? Dennis Johnson, can he stop Magic? Kareem and Robert Parrish, can they battle? Like, how's this gonna go? Dr. J, like, you seeing all these guys, and that's what makes you zero in on the league just to see that night to night. This is like glorified pickup, and it's not just what we seeing across the league. We're literally seeing it in person covering the league. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's hard to watch at times. Then I go to the college level and I've seen these guys play real defense again. I'm like, man. And a lot the casual fan would take it as, well, they're not NBA players. Well, some of them will be in the NBA. But the emphasis is in college, if your ass don't play defense, you will not see the floor. It's just period. It's not even no question. You won't see the floor. What's the difference with the NBA? So I feel like the product is suffering. I feel like we get into a dangerous period where it's like it's something kind of like boxing, man, where the money is tainting the overall quality of the sport. And once we get there, it's gonna be hard to get it back. Look at boxing; people don't even care about. But I grew up where boxing was prime time. Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Young Floyd, Sweet Pea. You could pay-per-view, man. Dudes was working hard, double shifts, to make sure they got the bread to get that pay-per-view to see these fights. Now you see a fight, you just like whatever. I'll just watch the results on Twitter to see who won because it's not the same quality, man. And you got a lot of people fooled thinking everything's amazing. All these guys are the most skilled we ever seen. No, it's just no resistance. It's just no resistance, man. Like no disrespect to Luke. 60, fine. He has the ability to get that. 20 boards, he has the ability to get that. 10 assists, of course. All that in one game. Knicks, what the hell were you doing? Like, damn, dog, you ain't think to box him out? Like, yo, all right, this man got like 12 boards. It's early in the third. We got to stop this, yo. Just keep bodies on him. Make somebody else have to get these boards. 60, throw traps at him. Just throw traps at him, backcourt, make him give up the ball. It's easy, man. And they know it's easy because Lucas said that as a rookie when he came in. He said it's easier in overseas. And as a guy that has defended future NBA players, overseas top EuroLeague guys, obviously college, all that, man. Every type of level of competition you could think of, man. I've never seen nothing like this, man. It was pride, dog. Pride on the defensive end, man. Like it was pride. And even if you got going, it got extra physical to the point you might have to fight to maintain scoring or making plays. You don't even see that. You see dudes get cooked. And I look on IG, man, you had a great game, bro. It's like you happy you got torched. You want highlights in the history book. But yet they want everybody to respect them. And when you say these things, we're hating. And I just literally gave you facts that this is the worst defensive season in NBA history. So I don't know what can be done, man. Like they're gonna have to tighten up, man. They really gonna have to allow dudes to really get up in them and stuff like that because this it's getting bad. It's just quality is bad, man. So I just had to throw those numbers out there. Obviously, we're gonna move on and kind of get to I ain't gonna say elephant in the room, the big situation, the big story in sports, man. Which is unfortunate. Support across the sports community continue to pour in Tuesday for DeMar Hamlin, who's in critical condition and intensive care unit at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. So all 32 NFL teams, the other squads like the NHL's Sabres, changed his Twitter avatars to photos of the safety's jersey number with "Pray for DeMar" written at the top. The league shared a screen recording of the team sharing a profile picture change with the caption "Football is family" with the red heart emoji. Fans have left signs and flowers outside of the hospital, and a candlelight vigil was planned to be held at 8:55 outside of the building, according to ESPN's Elena Gessenberg. That's the time Hamlin collapsed on the field Monday night. For those that don't know, the safety made what appeared to be a routine tackle against Bengals wideout T. Higgins during the AFC matchup. Hamlin got back on his feet but almost immediately collapsed. The Bills confirmed in a statement later that evening that CPR was performed and that he went into cardiac arrest. Medical personnel restored his heartbeat and he was transported to the hospital. The league announced Tuesday that the game will not be resumed this week, but there has not been a decision on when it will be rescheduled. Just for the people and the conspiracy theories who are saying that the NFL wanted to continue on, Troy Vincent spoke on it. He said the NFL did not consider giving players 5 minutes to warm up and continue. He said it was really about DeMar and making sure, look, I've never seen anything like it since I've been playing. So immediately my player had went on to Vincent, a former NFL defensive back. How do you resume playing when such a traumatic event occurs in front of you in real time? And that's the way we were thinking about it, the commissioner and I. As for the report that the teams at one point were given 5 minutes to warm up before continuing, Vincent said, I'm not sure where that came from. Frankly, there was no time period for the players to get warmed up. Frankly, the only thing that we asked was that referee Sean Smith communicate with both head coaches to make sure they had a proper time inside the locker room to discuss what they felt like was best. So I'm not sure where that came from. 5 minute warm up never crossed my mind personally, and I was the one that was communicating with the commissioner. We never, frankly, it never crossed our mind to talk about warming up to resume play. That's ridiculous. That's insensitive, and that's not a place that we should ever be in. Ray, we're gonna start with you. Just your thoughts on the whole situation and Vincent killing all the conspiracy theories that the NFL was just like, hey, continue on and stuff like that.
First of all, that was super scary, man. Definitely prayers out to Hamlin and his family and friends, teammates, just everybody involved, man. Like that was, yeah, like Troy Vincent said, never seen anything like that in the NFL game. Needing defibrillators and CPR to be administered on the field. Like I couldn't imagine what those players were experiencing. But yeah, I'm glad Troy Vincent directly addressed that, because I mean it's just silly to begin with. There was nothing that even suggested that people were going to prepare to resume the game. Once it happened, everything pretty much just stopped. And then after a while, you saw people packing up equipment and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't understand how that got out there in the first place. That's irresponsible as hell. And, it's probably just somebody trying to be clickbaity at the worst possible time. But yeah, I couldn't imagine, man, and as trash as the NFL is, I don't think they're that trash. Like a dude almost literally lost his life in front of the world, man, on a nationally televised game. So yeah, I don't know what my thought process would be if I was directly involved with that situation, but hopefully he he can get back to to himself. And yeah, man, just thinking about his teammates and how can they even proceed with the rest of the season, to be frank. And I like you just think about other situations like Reggie Lewis or Hank Gathers. There was another this has happened in NFL before, like in practice. What was the guy's name? Corey Stringer, and a couple other situations. So man, that stuff is just tough, man. Just that those situations would immediately come to mind and think like this, because it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I'm just glad that the medical staff was there to act quickly, because in situations like that, you got seconds, or it could turn even more grim than it was. So glad they were able to get him the treatment he needed in a moment, and hopefully he's just able to fully recover.
Wilson.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm just happy he's still with us. And at this point, after something like that happened, and Ray, like you said, I definitely remember the Reggie Lewis thing. I remember how old I was when that happened. I think I was still living in Connecticut at that time, and that was something where I heard that was something my mom drilled in a lot for me, because I have heart issues and whatnot. But it's one of the things, like you said, even with the NFL, people are so quick to jump on anything these days without any, taking 2 seconds to think. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff they're not good at. All right. That said, their protocols and what they have in place help this young man's here right now because of that. They played a role in that. All right. So all that the nonsense being spewed since last night to today is kind of nuts. I'm very happy that Troy Vincent is in a position that he's in the league throughout the past couple years. And if family, like, it's just a reminder of the other side of football. Like, it is an extremely violent game still. It's not as violent as it was back in the day, but again, just a reminder when, some people, they'll be loud about fantasy performance and all this other stuff, but there's always players that have just retired and players who've been retired in the past talking about, that don't have long-term health benefits and things of that nature, when things like this can happen. It's just the other side of the game. And I wish everybody would, just take a second to, give folks some grace. Like, folks are kind of sort of putting their lives on the line every time they go out there. It's extremely, like, what's it called? The studies where it's like some of the players, depending on what position you play, it's like being in 4 to 5 car crashes a game. They just added a freaking 18th game this past year. Like, things to keep in mind when not everyone, but folks are trashing NFL players on a regular basis. But again, I'm just happy Damar Hamlin's okay. I wish him a recovery. I could care less about if he plays football again or not. I just want him here. Ray, you talk about how scary it must have been for the players on the field. Scary must have been for his family watching that. Like, no, he was gone for a little while and back with us. Like that's what happened. So I'm just happy he's still here with us. Wishing him a very speedy recovery. Pray for his family, that he gets back to have a not just being here with us, technically just being here with us, but being back to enjoy some modicum, some semblance of a healthy life. Throw football aside from that. But just people could just try to find a way to show some grace to this entire situation because, too often feels like people just kind of like it's whatever to athletes as a whole. And then sometimes NFL players every week is just, especially with, the rise of gambling and everything else. Sometimes they're not people. They are. Things like this affect the regular person. It would affect families. This happened. This played out for a family on a national stage. Find some grace in it. But again, I'm very happy he's still with us.
And before Octavia, you go, it's not even just related to football. Like, I remember basketball, Paul George and Kevin Ware, when they snapped their leg on the stand, like, that was scary. You know what I'm saying? Like, TJ Ford, when he fell, I actually had an AAU teammate that happened to right in front of me. And they made us finish the game and stuff like that. But we weren't no good. We played like shit the rest of the game. But all athletes, it's only one play, and then life can change forever. So the fans that especially never did it, you always got to give athletes respect and always keep that in mind before you be able to talk like, he playing like this. And I remember when Gordon Hayward came back from the torn ankle, he rushed back to playing the playoffs. They like, he trash, he missing layups. I'm like, dude, you know what he just came back from? I know he ain't right. And I know his mind ain't right. He probably still hesitant to even just make the basic moves. And he in the playoffs trying to play for his team. But you know how that go. Go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, I mean, watching it live, it was definitely very, very scary. Just like you all said, I can only imagine how it was for the players because me sitting in my house in Maryland, I was terrified for him. I can imagine how it was for people who are literally on the field with him. It was very, just surreal. I've never seen anything like that ever happen in a game. I do think that a lot of things that were put into place definitely helped him. Like you said, like even situations like this make you think twice about, yourself, everything else that you have going on, like, and how things can change in an instant. Like now I'm like, I need to learn CPR. Like, what if you're in a situation like that and somebody could need that at that specific moment? What if that person wasn't there? So stuff like that. And I'm thankful that his family was there. I hate that they had to be there to see it, but I'm thankful that they were there to be there with him, because I can only imagine how much worse it would have felt for them to watch it on TV and then try to figure out how to get to him. So I'm thankful that his parents was there. On the other side of it, T. Higgins was the player that collided with him. His mother was actually there as well. Thankful that she was there because, people always have those residual after effects where they feel like, is it my fault? What did I do something wrong? So I'm thankful that these people had, family and people around them. As far as the rumors of like they were going to still play, and also I personally never thought they were going to play. I do think at one point, one of the commentators, whether it was Joe Buck or Steve or Troy Aikman, there we go, said something about 5 minutes, but I don't think it was ever like announced or anything. And I think that's where everybody is kind of like running with it for. But like you all said, like, I just feel like everybody just wants something, to kind of run with and be up in arms about. I personally never thought that they were going to play, especially with the backlash that they've received already this season for an injury that happened on this same field with Tua Tagovailoa earlier in the year. One thing that I've listened to throughout this year with the injuries and everything is that it definitely hurts them as a billion-dollar industry in the NFL to constantly have players get seriously injured when it's not even just running on ESPN, it's running on CNN, CNBC, it's running on all of these news networks that a lot. And then you hear the first thing you hear is like parents are like, my kids never playing football. Like, I don't got time for this. This is a lot. So I never thought that they were going to play. I think that they really looked at the severity of the situation. I think that probably what took them as long as it did for them to officially cancel the game was to kind of get in contact with the teams. Like those people aren't there at the games. They still have to get in contact with them to figure out what happened. And think about it this way too. Just like we couldn't necessarily see on TV exactly what was happening, I'm sure the same people couldn't necessarily see what was happening when they were watching it as well. So I'm sure they had to get logistics and try to figure out what actually really went down and get everything situated. But I as bad as we said, the NFL is, I really believe that they weren't going to continue that game because it was just like nothing I've ever seen before. And I doubt anything that they've ever seen before as well. As far as for the people who are, like I said, being negative, and I've seen all types of crazy things. I try to ignore the negative. I know we talk about NFL players all the time. We say, you had a trash game and all sorts of stuff, but it definitely puts it in perspective when stuff like this happens. But I do also want to acknowledge the good part of it. The part of the people that are coming together, the people that are, sending prayers. The fans from both teams who went to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, stood outside with the candlelight visuals and saying prayers. The fact that this man had a GoFundMe page from 2020, and I think they said at the time, I don't even know how much it was, but his initial request for this toy drive was $2,500. It is literally more than what his salary is for the next 4 years. It's like $5.5 million has been raised on his GoFundMe page. And to me, stuff like that pulls at my heartstrings because it shows you that people are doing anything that they can, to feel like that they want this young man to know that it's not just about football. We care about you as a human being. Nobody wants to see anybody go through a situation like that. And we're all praying that he is healed from this. He comes back 10 times better than this. And hopefully that, that money will help the causes that he had. And I'll be honest, hopefully it helps him with any type of medical situations or anything that he has to deal with after this, So it was really nice to see all of the people that donated. I even went through some of the names, like Christian McCaffrey donated. I seen somebody donated $20,000. I think they said the wrestler Chris Jericho donated like $10,000. Like, just to see people do anything that they can to show this person some love and some prayers and blessings to him and his family. I thought that was really nice. So I try to stay away from the negative part about it and try to see, the good that we do have for each other as a humanity as well. But it was definitely very sad. And for anybody who is worried about playoff seeding and fantasy football games, like, it means nothing at this point. So I just pray that the young man, who's only 24 years old, definitely comes out better, and just hopefully, he's good. That's all I have.
Yeah, and also just to close it out, I think we I'm not talking about us here, but in general, people need to do a better job of what they focus on as well. The negativity, because I saw a lot of people like, man, there's gonna be a lot of people that don't care about them, all that. It's just like, well, who are you listening to and reading the comments on social media? Like, that's who you choosing to pay attention to. It's kind of like when athletes be like, well, the media. And years ago, I used to get mad at it. I'm like, nah, bro, they ain't all media. But I just like, man, y'all just talking, because it's pick out the specific media person you're talking about and then go right down, because it's not all media. It's what you're choosing. It's the media you're choosing to listen to. That's always critical. You have a problem with. There's plenty of simp media out here who go overboard with the praise, and I consider all of us objective, where we just tell it like it is. If you getting it done, we're gonna say you getting it done. You're playing like trash. Oh, you gotta step it up. It's just the game. It is what it is. So No other way around. But definitely prayers up to him. Hopefully he pulled through. Like y'all said, man. Football is the last thing on my mind. Just want to see him walk up out of there with his family and be good again. And then they could talk all the details of his career moving forward later. Last question before we get up out of here. I can't believe this is causing drama, but Nikola Jokic, another impressive season, averaging 25.5 points, 10.9 rebounds, 9.5 assists per game. And Denver currently sits at the top of the Western Conference at 24-13, which means he's pretty much in the mix for another MVP, his possible third straight MVP. In the NBA history, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Larry Bird. Those are the only three players that have won 3 consecutive NBA MVP awards. They asked Mike Malone, Denver Nuggets head coach, post game, if Jokic had a shot at winning his third straight MVP. And Malone said if people's reasons for not giving Nikola a third MVP is because he's already won 2 in a row, that's lazy. We'll answer that because we all know a lot of media people are lazy, narrative-based reporters, as some say, which is trash. But look, we'll start with you, Wilson. Just what are your thoughts, man? The way he hooping, if he can maintain it, you had a vote. Would you vote him MVP?
Easily. Man is dragging that franchise. It's his franchise. It's the Denver Jokers. Like, it's been that. Now, I'm not even being funny. All the dudes are supposed to be there to help him, they're never there. I'm not knocking them. Just living in this space we call reality. He never has his full complement of guys, and he typically is missing number 2 and number 3 on a regular basis. The man's out there with Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown leading the Western Conference. At some point, actually, this year's MVP is about to be hilarious to me because decisions for narrative folks, it's going to be tough. You're going to have to give Jokic what he's doing. Are y'all going to have to look at them people, that group of people that you disowned, don't like, and can't stand? The two weird people and the Australian dude over there. So interesting decisions are going to have to be made if stuff continues into the second half of the season. So I want to know where y'all are going to find safety at. For those of you who like the stories and the narratives and not the basketball, because it looks like right now, as we approach the halfway point, I'm laughing every morning watching people try to walk back the stuff they've been saying about the group of weirdos, and then just conveniently, like, you guys mentioned today talking about Luka and Donovan, and bro, Jokic did something. Jokic is doing something crazy every 3 nights, and they keep skipping over his name. Like, I don't know, and I like all the other people they keep talking about, but if he's at the top of the West yet again, what are we doing here? If this was one of your other folks, some of them folks, if they were third, y'all be giving them credit, let alone first. Other people have their number 2 and number 3, and it's, just give them time. This is going to be the win that's going to turn things around. What are we doing? And like you said, just being lazy, like, that's another part of this place we got into, and I really don't like. The sake of a story shouldn't override what's happening on a playing surface. It's just that simple. It's the most valuable player, not the most valuable narrative. I could care less. Cool story, bro. Do you deserve it or not? Like, I really never need the story. Because I think sometimes when you start doing a story thing, then you're throwing feelings and you're injecting all types of things into it that have nothing to do with what the awards are for. So silly me, I'm going to take your story. I'm going to throw it over here somewhere. And here's my vote for what's happening on the playing surface. Yeah, it's Joker again. Until someone takes it, like, I don't know. Like, they're first in the West right now. We see Michael Porter Jr. like every 5 games. We see Jamal Murray. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's in clips, sometimes he's not. But I regularly, like the Nuggets that I regularly see, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, the Kansas kid Brown, spelled differently. Those are the guys that are like in there night after night, and then Joker, and then the stat lines. My God, the stat lines. Like I think some folks pick and choose what lines to go crazy over. That dude has a line almost every week that's nuts that you can hold up to somebody else's and go, damn, he did that again. So yeah, I'm with Coach Malone. Hopefully he doesn't get lazy. Because y'all tried doing this with Giannis too. Like, just stop it. I don't care about the story. It's an award. You either earned it or you didn't. The story is irrelevant. Like, oh, cool, it's year 20. I don't care. Is your team in first place? Is your team not? Just like back when it was year 3. If you were 7th in the league, we're usually not entertaining your MVP chances, right? So why should I change it because it's year 20? The bar's the bar. Stop this crap. Just the bar's the bar.
The story is the results on the court. Simple as that. Octavian.
Yeah, I mean, early in the season, like y'all know, like I thought Jason Tatum was playing lights out, but he's definitely slowed down. But Nikola Jokic, aka Big Honey, he's been the same all year. I like his nickname, Big Honey.
Oh yeah. Y'all can say that. No.
It's like every time he scored it, they played a Mariah Carey Honey song. I was like, that is so. So yeah, I mean, if he's the best player, which he's showing, like you said, night after night, he had a 40-point triple-double with 27 rebounds and 10 assists. I think they said like only 2 other players has ever done that, and one of them being Will. Like, come on. And this is consistent. Like, this is what he always does. He's always, he plays at his own pace. You can't speed him up. You just got to deal with them. He makes the right passes. He can shoot. Like, he's just an all-around tough player. So I agree. If they decide not to give it to him for some narrative, I think the one narrative would be, the old guy in Los Angeles or the crybaby in Philadelphia, which granted he has no legs to stand on right now. But still, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, it's him. At this point in moment right now, unless somebody else does something for the back half of the season, we're coming up on All-Star break, then maybe. But I don't see him not being him. I mean, like, I can only believe what I've been seeing for the last 2 years. And like you said, he's literally been dragging the Denver Nuggets to the playoffs without Jamal Murray, without who else wasn't playing? Michael Porter Jr. I mean, like you said, he's playing with Aaron Gordon, Bones Highland, Brett Brown, like Bruce Brown, excuse me, I said Brett Brown, Bruce Brown, and getting it done, and the West has been up and down a lot. So I definitely think it's still going to be some changes as the season goes on, but they've been basically near the top the entire season. So I don't see anybody overtaking it unless, like I said, something really drastically happens in the back half of the season. But yeah, he definitely needs to be in the conversation every single year that he is playing as well as he's playing. And to not give it to him just because he's gotten 2 already, to me is whack. Like, this is not a participation trophy type season. Like, you don't just get it because, oh, you got too many last time, so let me give it to this person. No, like, if they're better than you, they're more valuable to their team than you are, which is what we're looking at for MVP. It's what it stands for. He's definitely more valuable to his team because he's the number one constant every single year. So I hope he gets it. He's definitely my favorite big in the league. I've said that a while ago. I know there's been a lot of I don't even want to say a lot, but there's been arguments or whatever you want to say between him, Giannis, Joel, and everything. It's always been Nikola for me, and I just foresee him continuing his dominance, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like, I know it's damn near impossible, but they need to come up with some sort of metric or something for this, because people just going off vibes and feelings, and it's messing stuff up. Like, even when it comes to like the other awards, all NBA teams and things like that. Because first of all, that's messing with people's money. You know what I'm saying? And like to take away from what they accomplished on the court, which it should really be about, because you have some ulterior motive or some narrative you want to push. It sucks. And yeah, like Mike Malone said, man, if the reasoning for not giving it to him this year is because he won the last two, I mean, if he's the best for the third year in a row, then he should be rewarded for that. Like, I don't understand what the conversation is. And I've seen people who had a problem with getting it last year because of their seeding. So this year it shouldn't be a question, right? Because they first right now, so he should be at the top of your list. So people just hypocrites, man, and they just want to go against what they're watching. Yeah, to me, he's clearly an MVP right now. I mean, and then on top of that, when he faces those other guys in the conversation, he puts up those big stat lines and get wins. So, I mean, I don't know what more you want, but yeah, man, I always felt like that whole voter fatigue thing was trash. Like, you get tired of rewarding the best player. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I mean, if a guy's consistently the best, then he should be recognized as such. You know, not because somebody else is playing better than they were playing before. Are they better than this guy? If the answer is no, then conversation over. Like, I mean, yeah, it's and like this is the first time we've seen it. Like, and people take that stuff personally. Like we saw with thinking about the year David Robinson won it over Hakeem, and Hakeem got it back in blood in the conference finals. Like, I mean, people, you just shouldn't take away from a guy just because he's won it before. I mean, if you deserve it, you deserve it. End of story, man. And and sometimes that conversation is a little crowded, and sometimes it's not, and I feel like this is one of those years where it's not. Other guys are playing great for sure, but I mean it's levels. So yeah, if he keeps it up, I think it's an open shut case, man. But we'll see.
Yeah, man. Honestly, it's just a lot of cowards in the media. They just going along to get along. So you look at the list of the people who vote. Most of them are like ESPN reporters and stuff like that are part of the engine that every day, where I don't turn on it no more, but I'm pretty sure they're still talking about what's going on in LA, certain player, and all the time. It's just feeding the machine or whatever, generate views and dollars and stuff like that. Look, I've been saying Jokic is the best center in the game. He always gets the better Embiid. He doesn't complain. He ain't no BS. It's nothing. There's no drama. He shows up every game. He gets it done, and he gets it done at an all-time level. What more do you want? He may not be, I guess, the sexiest player with the dunks or in the media. He's funny as hell in media. He's hilarious and stuff, but his game is just is beautiful because he's literally the best passer in the game. Like his passing scares me more than anything else he does, and that it's not too many players in the history of the game that has that skill at that level. You know what I mean? It's damn near Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, like, but from the center position, man. It's been some great centers that can pass. Bill Walton was a great passer. It's a lot of bigs that can pass, but he's special. He's one of those guys that make you open even if you ain't open. You know what I'm saying? That's dangerous. Being a defender and for defenses, man. Look, for me, it's just based on playing wise. It's really only 4 players in the mix, man. It's him, Jason. You got to put Luka in there, and then Embiid. What they doing? They're all winning, and they're all dominating at historic levels, and that's it. But with him being at the top of the West is one thing, but Jason Tatum got an argument because the Celtics are at the top of the East and got a better record. So you can get an edge, but it's not over yet. We're not even at All-Star break. It's hard to say he's the better big when one of the bigs, Giannis got the championship. You know what I mean? That's clear cut. It ain't no argument. He got it done in the biggest stage. So some other guys got a lot to prove, man. But I hate the politics behind it. It's not even hard. Just watch the games if they even watching the games, because I think a lot of these voters are just byproduct of the outlet that they're working for. They don't really be at games like that. So how can they really get the vote? But those companies, those outlets pay the big money to broadcast these games. So of course that comes with it. It's all connected, because if you look at the list, a lot of them, you be like, ain't no way in hell they deserve a vote. It's just no way. You know what I mean? But man, look, if he maintains what he's doing, let's say the season ends, they're at the top of the West or whatnot, he maintains what he's doing compared to what everybody else is doing, the way his team winning and stuff, you got to give it to him. It ain't nothing wrong with that. And I know people love to throw out there, how you the MVP and they winning a championship? Well, how many MVPs win championships? That's a team award, dog. You need your team to step up, dog. Like, his job is to get you the playoffs. Like, if you're an MVP caliber player, I expect you to get your team to the playoffs every year. That's damn near the second round. You should be able to do that on your own. Win a championship, all hands gotta be on deck, dog. Like, everybody gotta produce, man. Because that's the only way you're gonna be able to get it done, man. Because the star, they're gonna cancel him out eventually. The further they go, they're gonna lock into him. It's gonna be difficult for him to do what he need to do, man. So you need all hands on deck, man. But just give the man what he deserves. It's not that hard. Give the man what he deserves. Give everybody what they earn. And then it's simple. You can sleep better at night, man. But when you start getting in all this narrative stuff and agenda-based stuff, man, it just takes away from the game, man. And it takes away from the dignity and integrity of a media, which is already being questioned at an alarming rate, and rightfully so, because there's just too many people just getting in the game just to talk instead of inform, which is what our job is supposed to be.
Oh man, want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. There should be a lot to discuss next week, as always, as this week continues on. For those of you that follows with Wizards Outlook, we'll talk to some of y'all later this evening. Then again later this weekend, as they'll be on the road. They'll remain on the road, rather. But just a reminder, you watch Focus TV Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on our Roku channel. If you got a Roku television device, all you got to do is type in the Focus TV in the search box, double tap OK. That's how you add the channel. For local residents without Roku, Fridays at 10 p.m., Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on your DC TV. You can also watch your DC TV on your web browser. Just going to dctv.org, and you can watch. You can stream it there live as well. But y'all have a great week, and we'll see y'all soon.